So last week, we started this series with the Red Sea, messages from the lessons from the Red Sea, and I would like us to continue going with those messages. So the first three rules that we talked about, let me scroll back through my notes. First rule was, if you ask God to help, accept that where you are right now is under control, which pretty much means if right now you're burning, if right now it hurts, that is the safest place for you to be at. And the best place for you to figure out how to move forward. The rule number 2 was, check your GPS. Always look first where God is, and after that where you are at. When we see our problems, very often that is all we see. And we forget to look around and see where is actually God in all of this. And very often it turns out that what we identified and labeled as a problem was actually just a pathway to a solution that wouldn't even cross our minds. It's like, and I always remember that, I can't remember who said that, but years back, somebody was here giving a testimony, and they said, like, I prayed God for more money, and I lost my job. I'm like, what? Nevertheless, he said, if hadn't I lost my job at the time, I would have never pursued other options that I had because I was pretty fine with this job, but these other options were actually the ones where I started to make more money. So God does these things, you know? So look where is God in your problems before you look where you are at. And then the third one was recognize your foes in your life. Not everybody is your friend, and very often not recognizing the ones who are not in your favor tends to be more of a hindrance than identifies the ones that are. And today, what I would like us to continue with is 3 more rules that I dug in this story that I would like to share with you. So let's go to Exodus, and this time, the old way. Open your Bibles. Do you have your Bibles with you? If not, you'll find some in the front, in front of you, in the chairs. Or you can open your phones, your apps. Let's go to Exodus chapter 14. Exodus chapter 14, verse 10. When Pharaoh drew near, the people of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians were marching after them, and they feared greatly. And the people of Israel cried out to God. Now, what do we see here? First one who shows up is the Pharaoh, who is charging. The problem is showing up. The problem is emerging. And it's not any kind of a problem. It's one of those problems that you just can't solve. Whatever it is in your life, whatever you feel, it's bigger than you, that is the Pharaoh. And the people of Israel, they lifted their eyes up, and they didn't see God. They saw the problem. So they see the problem, and how did the problem make them react? Egyptians are marching after them, and they feared greatly. Anytime you see the problem, usually the first response is fear. Now, how do we usually respond to fear? What is the natural human instinct to respond to fear? You remember those 4 F's, right? Fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. We do one of these 4. Every single time when we face fear, when we run into a fear, you'll either charge at it and try to fight it. Obviously, Hebrews didn't feel competent to do that. You're going to fly away, run away. They didn't have where to run. There was no point freezing. Maybe fawning would help. Maybe they could appease the Pharaoh to let them go. But anyways, the fear made them react in a fearful way. So they turn to Moses and they start yelling at Moses. Moses, what did you do to us? You're going to kill us all. You ruined us. But one important thing that happened over here at the end of the verse says, even though they feared greatly, and the people of Israel cried out to the Lord. Now, when do you pray the most? When you're in trouble, right? When things don't go your way. When everything is fine, we do remember to have those prayers of praise. Thank you, Lord. But they're usually brief, right? They're like, yeah. Have you ever done those thumbs up prayers? You know? It's like when you talk to a friend you haven't talked in a long time. Hey, how are you doing? I'm good. How are you? I'm good. Okay, what do we talk about now? When everything is good. When everything is good, you don't have much to talk about, you know? But when things are not good, that is when the story unfolds. When we are afraid and we go on our knees to pray, that is the best response to fear you can do. I heard this saying somewhere. It says, courage is nothing else but a fear that has said its prayers. And that's pretty much what it is. People of God over here are fearful for their lives. How are we going to survive this? How are we going to pay our bills? How are we going to raise our kids? How are we going to go through this medical diagnosis? How are we going to deal with this rift in our relationship? All of these things that happen to us in life, they make us afraid. They make us to resort to one of those 4 F's. But the best thing to start with is keeping it as a first. You remember I mentioned that last time. Is prayer your first responder or your last resort? What is a prayer for you? If you learn and create a habit of having a prayer to be your first responder, you will cry out to the Lord. Now, let me ask you this. How do you think this prayer of the people of God sounded? Did they get together, join hands? Okay, we're going to have a prayer right now. Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us on this beach over here to enjoy the sunny day. No. The prayer that they prayed over here, it was literally described as a cry. There was no more civil cordiality in that prayer. There was no, oh dear Lord. There was no this, there was just cry. If my stomach doesn't hurt me right now, I would kind of cry it out for you. But, Lord! Save us, Lord! What the hell are you doing? You want to kill us all? Have you ever told God, what the hell are you doing? There are some minors here. Excuse my language. But so many times, these are the real prayers, raw prayers, non-eloquent prayers, prayers that are just outspoken, shameless prayers, are the prayers that actually get to God. Most of our prayers are those nice, fancy-shaped prayers. And yeah, God hears them. But the prayers that we really mean are the prayers of our hearts. And they don't have to sound nice. They don't have to have a beautiful content. They don't have to be spoken grammatically correct and nicely announced and pronounced. No. They have to contain your heart. Now, where is the heart usually contained? That is another interesting thing to think about. Because one thing that happens is we usually guard our heart and try to keep it safe from the world around us. And the older we are, more labels and masks we have to prevent other people from really seeing who we really are on the inside. Because we have this persona that we're trying to present. I have this pastoral persona that I'm trying to maintain. Because, well, it comes as part of my job and my relationship with people. And I was thinking about that a lot. You know, after 19 years here in Arvada, there are some kids here who remember me as Pastor Milos from ever since they started coming to church. And for a lot of people, I am a Pastor Milos. I'm not just Milos, you know? For some people here, I am Milos. But for a lot, I am a pastor, you know? And that's what I am. And so many times it happens to me that I would talk to somebody. People talk to me about their lives, about the stuff. And we spend half an hour, 45 minutes talking. They don't even ask me, how are you doing? Because people simply assume, well, he's Pastor Milos. And then on top of it, it's not their fault. I am the one who built this persona. Oh, Milos who knows what he's doing. Oh, Milos who has the answer. Oh, Milos who's always going to be positive and lift you up and have a good thing to say and a good advice to give. You know? And then after creating that kind of a persona for a purpose, I kind of blocked off my heart from a lot of people. To the point where people don't even assume that there could be something. You know? And we do that all the time. Think about it. You have your business persona when you're at work, right? You have your family persona at a family reunion. You even have a persona with your significant other. All of us do. The only really raw and honest myself is between me and God. And that's something that I will never open up to anybody, because that's how we're taught. The moment you open up, you get hurt. But the problem that happens there is that very often what we do, we also apply this to God. We feel that we have to present ourselves to God. He doesn't care about that. He already knows. But we are the ones who shrink our prayers because we don't cry out to God. Because we don't cry out to God. I remember, and seriously, like it's really interesting, now that kind of the end has come, so many things are popping up from like past 19 years that kind of remind me of everything that happened here. And like one of the things that I remember is when I was a youth pastor for the longest time, for like 8-9 years. I was working as a youth pastor, and then Gordon told me, okay, it's time for you to get moved over here to the big church. You know, you're already, I don't want people seeing you as yet another kid that is running around the property with the rest of the kids. You know, I want them to start taking you seriously as a pastor. So I'm like, okay, fine, let's do that. But I needed youth leaders. And we had a lot of youth at the time. We had like 30, 40 people probably at peak attending. And there were quality youth leaders among them, but all of them were young. All of them were like, you know, like their like early 20s, you know. So I tried recruiting here and there. I just couldn't find anybody who would be consistent. And Gordon was dragging me here. I left that over there to like inconsistent leadership. Things started falling apart. I started becoming very frustrated with that. And I remember praying. I really remember, the church is empty. I'm here by myself during the week. I would just like sit there. And now, actually, I would sit here. I love that window. We used to have that big flag before we had a screen. If my people who are called by my name would humble themselves and pray. You remember that Bible verse from Jeremiah? Yeah, oh my goodness. So I would just be over there. I would see that. I would pray. I would ask God, and nothing happens. Nothing happens. It just sucks. And I remember one Saturday, whoever was supposed to have the program with you, they didn't show up. I was here. I know a bunch of teens. I see a bunch of teens run. We still had those old windows you could kind of see through. And I'm like, what the hell? So the service ends, people leave, and I'm sitting on the bench over here in between. And I remember crying out to God, like, what are you doing? Why are you letting me suffer like this? Come on, give me people. Like, I wasn't nice at all. I didn't say please. Like, I was like, come on, give me people. I need somebody to do this youth ministry. Give me somebody. What's wrong with you? In the next month, I had 8 youth leaders coming to volunteer, wanted to join, wanted to do stuff. You guys remember that? Like when Everlyn, then Gonzalo shows up. Then Dickie with all of his craziness. Then like people just kind of started popping up. Like, hey, I want to do this. I want to do stuff. I want to do stuff. And suddenly I'm over here. I have to do nothing. I don't even know what's happening over there. They're planning a camping trip without me. They're planning a lockout to stay without me. And like, now I feel bad. Now I feel left out. It's kind of like, but I'm like, and then there was that like, okay, finally. Don't feel that you have to be nice with God. He's your dad. Have you ever gotten in an argument with your dad? Have you ever gotten in a nasty argument with your dad? Have you ever cursed out your dad? I have. Both of them. Both the one from the old country and the one from the upstairs. Because we had some disagreements. You know? But here's the thing. He can take it. He can take your frustration. He can take your fear. He can take your confusion. He can take your uncertainty. And he can shape it into something so much more beautiful than you would ever be able to create. So be raw with God. Never shut up before Him. Never feel that you said too much. Never feel that you said it the wrong way. Be completely, let your heart, whatever is in it, be poured out before Him. When you do that, you know what God does? Finally, like finally I can hear you for real. Okay, let's go to rule number 5. Just in time. Rule number 5, give God room to breathe. Once you asked, allow God to reply. Have you ever been on a traffic light and there is a BMW behind you? How close was that BMW to you? Like, you could feel his front bumper in your back seat. Or have you ever been the BMW driver? How much do you like tailgating? Nobody likes tailgate. No, nobody likes being tailgated. But it's so easy to tailgate, right? Because you're in a rush. Come on, hurry up. I'm going to be so happy when I get to work. Come on, move. Huh? Nobody likes tailgating. And then yet we do it to God all the time. We do it to Him all the time. Look at this. Exodus chapter 14, verses 13 and 14. You can still keep your Bibles open. You can see it on the screen. Now you can go back to lazy way. And Moses said to the people, fear not, stand firm, and see the salvation of the Lord, which He will work out for you today. For the Egyptians whom you see today, you shall never see again. The Lord will fight for you, and you have only to be silent. What are the accompanying elements of fear? Accompanying elements of fear are like stress, anxiety, worries, like all of these things come with fear. And over here, Moses gives very specific instructions to the tremendously fearful people of God. He says, fear not. Then he says, stand firm. And then he says, see the salvation. Now, you heard those like relationship advices from bad people. Like, what do you tell to your wife when she is all hyped up and nervous and starts yelling? Just tell her to calm down. Did you see that? Yeah. Follow me for more relationship advice. It seems like Moses is doing exactly the same thing to the people of God over here. They see the army charging at them and they're freaking out, and Moses is like, don't be afraid. They want to run away, they're all dismayed, and he's like, stand firm. They're looking at Egyptian army getting ready to slaughter them, and he's like, see the salvation. It feels like Moses is mocking them over there. It feels that God is mocking them over here. But the matter of fact is, for as long as they would be holding on to their fear, for as long as they would be trying to wiggle out of the situation, for as long as their eyes would be focused on the Egyptians, they are not giving God any room to answer their prayers. They cried out, they asked for Lord's help, and now they need to allow God to do His thing. But in all of their wrong focus, they are not capable of doing that. How many times you prayed for a solution and then you go do it yourself? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But then the prayer 2.0 is, can you fix what I just screwed up? Yeah. This is a hard lesson in faith to learn, especially when it hurts. Because when you're in the middle of the fire, when you feel the flames burning you, hopefully only figuratively, those are the moments when you just want to get out of it. When you see the problem, all you want to be out of the problem. You just want to have the solution, get this over with and done and finished. And the reason we do that is because in our society, we were taught that the best life possible is comfortable life. Right? That's the way we want to live our lives. Everything we do is to make our lives more comfortable. And this is the worst thing that we can do with our lives. You don't want to make your life being comfortable. You want to make your life being meaningful. You want to make your life being fulfilled. You want to make your life being purposeful. But if you have any of these things, things are not going to be comfortable at all. If you want, for example, you want life to be purposeful, that means that you want to achieve something. If you want to achieve something, you don't have time to be comfortable. You have to do, you have to go, you have to figure it out, you have to make it happen. You know? Yeah, we need comfort every once in a while. We need to take a break. We need to have those periods of rest and so on. But our Western mindset is taught that as long as you have the most comfort possible, that's the best thing that can happen to you. If you have at the same time both heated and cool seats in your car, and if they're genuine leather, that's the best possible thing for you. You know? If you have the best possible sole in your shoes, that's the best possible way for you to run. Last week I read an interesting article from Nature magazine, Dang it. If anybody really wants to know where did I read it, I'll look for it later. I can't remember exactly. Anyways, the article was about one orthopedic study said that what mostly ruins our posture is because we wear shoes. They say that people with best posture are the people who walk barefoot. And the people who run barefoot have much more endurance running, and they have much less wear and tear on their knees and hips than the people who use running shoes. Because, and it's so interesting, like the guy, the doctor, he's a doctor, but he says, I caught that because it was interesting to me. He says, our feet are designed to be used barefoot. So I figure he probably believes in God when he uses that terminology. But still, the idea is there, like, we want to make our life comfortable, and in that process, we impede our growth. We make it even worse for us. You don't want to be comfortable. You want to have things in your life that are going to disturb your comfort. Because as your comfort is disturbed, you're going to pursue things that are meaningful, that are purposeful, that are fulfilling, and so on. And Moses over here is trying to give them meaning, purpose. He's trying to give them a different focus that they would set their eyes on. Now, one thing that is really interesting to me over here, God is not going to take your fear away. God is not going to lift you up so you can stand. He wants you to do these things. There is a part that we do, and our part is not just to ask. We have to be actively engaged in asking as well. What does that mean? Here's the thing. They asked the Lord, Lord, please come and help us. At this point, after they said a prayer, do they have a reason to fear? Think about it. Egyptian army is over there. They said their prayer to God. Do they have a reason to fear? They have a reason to fear, but only under a circumstance where they assume that the Egyptian army is mightier than their God. If they believe that their God is mightier than the Egyptian army, that's the moment when the fear dissipates. Have you ever been bullied? Until like the 6th grade, I was fat and clumsy. I can prove it with photos. I remember, I think it was like my 9th or 10th birthday. I have like I have a photo like in front of a cake. I'm all happy laughing, and I have like a double chin, and I'm like all like wrapped up. So I was kind of prone to bullying, and then later, I think 7th grade, I got like the growth spur. I hit the foot up, and after that they left me alone. But before that, I was always trying to hang out around older kids who were kind to me. And I really remember that was interesting. Like, group of kids was about to bully me, beat me up pretty much. And I'm freaking out, and I see around the corner one of these older friends coming up. A sigh of relief. Yeah, these guys were still here. They were still ready to beat me up, but the fear was gone. Because when he starts yelling, they walk away. And I knew that I was okay the moment I saw him coming. When Moses talks to people over here, he is just describing a reality that they were not aware of. And this is the reality that very often we are not aware of. But the moment you say a prayer, the moment you cry out to God, you have to give him room to breathe by accepting the fact that you did your part. You said it. Next thing that you have to do is step back and allow him to act. Are you afraid that you're going to lose your job? Have you prayed about that? Yes, you have. Okay, let's see what's going to happen now. Let's see what doors are going to open. Have you prayed about your health? Let's see what doors are going to open. What is God going to teach me? What am I going to learn? How is this going to be a lesson to give God the glory? Have you prayed about your relationship? Have you prayed about your plans, about your future? Step back and a sigh of relief as you're now observing around to see what doors are going to open. The reason why that is important is this. When we pray, but we are still focused on our problem, that is the only thing that we focus on. That is the only thing that we see, the problem, and we are trying to figure out the solution. Well, maybe over there somebody else already has the solution. We just don't pay the attention. The moment you shift your focus, the moment that you start looking things differently, looking from the perspective of knowing that God is on your side, doors that were there all the time, you barely start noticing them. That's how things work. So Moses tells them, for the Egyptians whom you see today, you shall never see again. And that is exactly what happened. And then he also tells them, the Lord will fight for you. You only have to be silent. Sometimes God takes you in battle with him. Sometimes he's going to arm you up. Come on, go. I'm right here. Sometimes we are too weak. Or sometimes we just can't handle things. The art of faith is recognizing which is which. When do I charge? When do I allow God to go ahead of me? But the matter of fact is, whichever you choose, you can't do any of it before you let go of your fear. So right now think. I'll give you 10 seconds. Remember your fear. What are you afraid of? What are you concerned with? What are you worried about? What is the major part of your biggest prayer? Think about it for a moment. Visualize it. See it in front of you. Now what I challenge you. What I challenge you is to let it go. Because you prayed already. Let it go and see it leaving your midst and going into God's hands. Allow yourself to visualize this, because that is exactly what happens the moment you ask. And now we wait. We'll see until next week what happens with it. And I would love to hear, if anyone has a testimony next week, please step forward. I would love to hear it. I believe everybody would. But the main thing over here is, if you're not capable of controlling and handling your emotions and refocusing them and shifting them into a positive state of mind, this is where you're going to get stuck in life. And people end up being stuck in life like this for years, even decades sometimes. Because I can't let go. You know? And okay, that's your cross to bear. But there is a solution. And the solution is you give God room to breathe. You let him take things into his own hands. And then things start happening. Every single time. And the last rule for today that I would like us to, rule number 6, is listen to your faith. This one is tricky. This one can be deceitful. This one can be easily manipulated and abused. But it's crucial. It's really crucial. Because once you understand this rule, your path with God will never be the same again. If God gives you a reason to believe him, stick to that, no matter how things unfold. Exodus chapter 14, verse 15. This is so interesting. This is so funny. And the Lord said to Moses, why do you cry to me? God is like, what's up? Like, wait, so you saw all of the things that I did to Egypt in the past couple of weeks, right? So you guys leave, you guys walk away, you were slaves, you walked away, and the Egyptians filled you up, loaded you with gold and silver and everything. You're leaving richer than you ever were. And then you saw the pillars. Wait, I was protecting you from the sun every single day with the pillar of cloud. And then in the winter, in the nighttime, gets cold, you had this pillar of fire. What are you crying about? What are you freaking out about? God, it's interesting that God asks that, like, why are they crying to me? I mean, he knew the answer, but he's making a point over here. And this is my point that I want to make, that I think it's very important to understand. If you pray for the same thing twice, your faith shrinks. And the more you pray the same prayer for the same thing, the more your faith shrinks. And this is a very good indicator of the size of your faith. If you have an urge to pray for something again, because you think that the first prayer was not enough, that is a good indicator that your faith is already not that big. You get my drift? You get what I'm trying to say? Do you really think that God needs to hear your prayer twice? I mean, Jesus said, keep asking as if there is no tomorrow. And then he tells that story of that woman that was pestering that godless judge. Remember? But his point was, don't hesitate to ask God for what you need. Don't feel that God can't or won't deliver. It's not up to you to decide whether he's going to deliver or not. It's up to you to ask. You know? But it's also up to you to listen to your faith. Because when God is asking them, why do you cry to me? He's asking us as well. Why do you cry to me? Do you think that I can't do it? Do you think I don't have an idea how to make this happen? Do you think I can't point you out in the right direction? Do you think I can't give you wisdom to figure this out? You know, God never serves anything on a silver platter, of course. But he's going to point you out in a direction where you can find that silver platter. And he's going to point you in a direction and give you idea and wisdom how to fill it up. And then you're going to know, like, oh, wow, this was awesome. This was amazing. Because you were actively engaged in it. But the fact is, stop crying to him. If you said a prayer, allow your faith to be the one that you're going to stand on. Listen to that faith that you have in that prayer. And then God tells them something else. He tells them in this verse, he says, tell the people of Israel to go forward. Where was forward? You remember? You remember where was forward? They're on the beach. The forward is a freaking ocean. They can't swim that far. They have stuff with them. Forward? What are you talking about? No, it makes much more sense to go backward. It makes much more sense to go and reason with the Pharaoh. Just give them their gold back. Tell them we're going to gladly build and make those bricks again so they leave us alone. That is the logical thing to do, right? That was the thing that would make sense. But faith is not the most logical tool of decision-making process. Faith is generally not going to make sense very often in life. It was not logical for them to obey this command, but it was up to them to listen to their faith, to know that this is the right thing to do. Because here's the thing, all they saw was the ocean. They couldn't see the other side. They just saw the water. But faith expands your eyesight, guys. Faith expands it so you can see your prayer answered. Remember that fear that I asked you to kind of visualize on it. Let's take another 10 seconds. I want you to see that prayer answered. See it answered. This is a potential reality that might happen very soon in your life. God can make it happen. He has no reason not to be able to do that. See beyond the obvious and pursue beyond the logical. God doesn't make sense to us so many times because He sees farther and more. He sees things from above. He knows what's ahead and behind. He's already there. He's everywhere. He's everywhere on the timetable, wherever you can imagine. He's already there, present. While we are this little point in this time table, and we're slowly moving in just one direction, like a one-way street. So He already has it all figured out. But it's up to you to listen to where your faith is taking you. As I mentioned, like when you come to the end, a lot of things from the beginning come back to your mind. Some of you heard this story. You guys know how we got here, Jasmine and I, how we even got to Denver, how we even ended up in Nevada. Does anybody know that story? Okay, a few. So back in 2004, we were invited by the Yugoslavian church in Sacramento to work, or I was invited to work as a youth pastor. Jasmine was just a decoration. Well, that's like pastor's wife. Like, what's she gonna do? That's the like traditional scene. So back in the seminary, we had one old pastor come in to give us a presentation, and they were like, everybody was mixed up, like both the girls and the guys, all of us were together, all the students were together. So he greets us, dear young future pastors and young future pastors' wives. That's the way that people would see. But anyways, so we're over there in Sacramento, and the year passes by, and the church splits apart in two groups. They can't afford a youth pastor anymore. So at this point, we're trying to figure out what to do. And we had our religious visa was tied specifically to my youth pastor ministry. So we couldn't do anything else. We couldn't change the visa. We would have to go back to Serbia. So a friend of ours who lives in Boston, in Massachusetts, he says, hey, we have a family here in our church. The grandma had a stroke, and they're looking for somebody to take care of her, somebody who would live with her. And I suggested you guys, because I know that you need some help. You need money, time to figure things out. So why don't you come over here and just spend some time with the family and see if this is going to work out. And we rent a car in Sacramento, California, and we drive to Boston, Massachusetts. I figured, I'm looking at the map. That was before Google Maps and everything. I'm looking at the map. It's going to take us 2 days. We should be fine. Tomorrow night we should be there. So I remember, we leave early in the morning, and that night we're somewhere in Nevada. And where did we end up? What's wrong with this country? This is insane. So we come over there. Everything works out fine. It's awesome. The lady likes us from the get-go. Jasmina connects with her immediately, and everything seems to be fine. And we talked to an attorney. We asked her, okay, how can we make this happen? She's like, you can't. Like, if you decide to stay, you're going to stay illegal. And at this point, that might work out for you in some way or another. But pretty much there is nothing that you can do about that. But have in mind, if you do that, the ways for you to get settled here are very slim. So we're like, okay, fine. God, what now? What do we do? So we were over there for like 2 weeks, and things are really great. Like, everything is awesome. And this family, they were a very affluent family. The son of the grandma that needed help, he was a pilot. He had his own airplane. He's like, I'll teach you to fly. Like, you can fly my airplane. Like, that was my dream forever. That's awesome. And probably like the biggest selling point for me at that point was like, his cousin or a friend, I can't remember at this point who it was, he was a professor at Harvard University. He's asking me, what do you think about doing your master's degree in Harvard? Like, I can never afford it. He's like, well, we can make it happen. You know, this is all, everything is possible. Anyways, so many reasons to stay to do this. So after 2 weeks, we were supposed to go back to Sacramento, pack up our things, and fly back. So we're driving back. We're on I-80, and Jasmina's uncle calls us. And he's a pastor. He's also a pastor in California, but he grew up with Gordon. So they went to high school together. Then after that, they did a master's degree together. They've known each other all their lives. And he's like, hey, I have something for you. You know, a friend of mine, he lives in Colorado. He's looking for a youth pastor. So this could probably help you. So we're like, okay, so are we gonna get hired by the conference? No, he needs a volunteer. So we go over there and volunteer for how long? Well, go talk to him. So we're already driving there. So we're like, okay, fine, we're gonna stop by. Let's just drive to Denver, and meet Gordon and talk to him. And he's like, well, guys, church doesn't have that much money. You could stay with me for like a couple of months until we figure something out. But in the meantime, you can volunteer. You can just work for free. So we are like driving back to Sacramento. So Boston, Colorado, everything we ever dreamed of in Boston, everything we were ever called to do in Colorado. And guess what we picked? Boston, yeah. No, there were times in my life when I was like, why am I not in Boston right now? Especially when some of the youth would drive me nuts over there. Somebody breaks something or they do stupid stuff. Like, I don't need this. I could have flown the airplane right now and be in Harvard. But you listen to your faith. When you pray and you ask God to guide you, He will guide you. But you have to make a choice that is consistent with your faith, that is consistent with what you know is the right thing to do, what your heart is telling you. This is what gives God the glory. This is what the true blessing is. This is what I need to pursue. I don't know how things could have ended up had we chosen to kind of stay in Boston. I don't know. God had plan B, I'm sure. But I know we didn't make a mistake. Even though, frankly, at moments, it took us 7 years to get a green card. 7 years of our lives just frozen in time. And every single year we are waiting to get kicked out of the country. Every single year. 2007, are we going to get kicked out? 2008, are we going to get kicked out? 2009, April 1st, 2009, my birthday, I get a pink slip from immigration. You have 30 days to leave the country. We were being kicked out. I was cursing at God so much. I didn't want to talk to Him. I didn't pray for the whole month. Like, I'm done with God. Like, I'm seriously done with this. Like, gave 5 years of my life to what? To be kicked back over there with no future, with nothing. What are you doing? And then he brought us back. And that was a crazy miracle. Like what happened at the embassy when we were over there. That's another story for another time. But listen to your faith. It doesn't have to be logical. It doesn't have to make sense. But it has to resonate with where you know God wants you to be. It has to resonate with the higher calling of who you are supposed to be. If you don't know what that is, then take your time to figure it out. Sometimes God gives you a break, so you can figure things out. But the matter of fact is, all of us are called to something more. It's yours to figure that out, not His to serve it to you. And then it's yours to make choices that will pursue that, not His to make it happen. He will open the doors, and then He will do some crazy stuff if you listen to your faith. So may God bless you as you contemplate on this message. May God bless you as you contemplate on your life. May God bless you as you let your problem get solved by Him who is a problem solver, by Him who is a miracle worker, by Him who is a way maker. Let Him handle things.